Thank you and welcome to the show today. The topic today is the Native American Indian and People's Coalition for Democratic Growth. And we're fortunate to have with us to talk about the Native American Indian and People's Coalition for Democratic Growth, Mr. ABender, who is the coordinator for that organization. And of course, Mr. Bender, let me welcome you to the show this morning to talk about this organization. Now, but before we get into talking about this organization, let's talk about ABender, and to have you to give us some information about your background, your education, your experiences, and some of the things that were important that eventually led you to the coordinator of this organization. And then we'll talk about the organization and some of the things that this organization has been involved in and some of your future plans. Let's do it from that perspective.
Okay, fine. Well, one, I have a law degree, and I have a degree in history, and I consider myself as being a historian. I've been a practitioner of law for, I guess about the last 24 years, and I'm also a journalist in that I write for two major Native American Indian newspapers. I also write historical articles for various magazines, and I write political commentary.
And so you're very, very involved in terms of being active in disseminating knowledge and information in reference to the Native American Indian experience. Let's talk about the name of that organization. Now, what about this organization? Let's talk about this organization itself.
Okay, well, one, the reason that the name is a little bit longer than usual is because we wanted to get the essence of what the organization deals with. One, it's called Native American Indian because of the fact that it had its genesis within the struggles of Native Americans to stop grave desecration in the Middle Tennessee area. And the reason we call it the People's Coalition is because it's not just an organization of Native American people, it's an organization of all people. We have Anglo people who work with us, we have African American people who work with us, we have Hispanic people who work with us. So it's, from the standpoint of a people's coalition, it's all the people of this city that we want to work with and that we've been trying to bring into our organization.
Now, what's the purpose of this organization and its founded?
Well, the purpose of it is to stop, well, originally the purpose of it was to deal specifically with the stopping of the desecration of Native American grave sites, ancient burial grounds, and historical sites in the Middle Tennessee region.
Now, how was this done? I mean, how did this desecration occur, and what do you describe or classify as desecration of these sites?
Well, one, the desecration started with the development that takes place here in Nashville. You have residential development, you have industrial development, and what happens when these public and private entities start constructing buildings, businesses, and the like, they invariably or almost inevitably run into Native American burial grounds. And the reason for that is because in ancient times, 1,000 years ago, this area of Middle Tennessee right here in Nashville had the largest Native American population in the entire Southeast. There were tens of thousands of Native Americans living here 1,000 years ago, and as a consequence you had just an endless string of burial grounds and village sites. So whenever development starts going into just about any part of Nashville, they inevitably run into these Native American historical sites and graveyards.
And so the purpose of this organization is to make sure that once that happens, that those grave sites can either be preserved or at least make sure that the relics that come out of those sites are preserved or taken care of. Is that?
That's correct. And to also ensure that the remains, the skeletal remains, are treated with dignity and that the artifacts are kept with, and if there is reburial in a specific area, where the remains were found, then those artifacts are reburied with the skeletal remains. And we want to make sure that there's no illegal trafficking or selling of those artifacts and remains, as has happened so often here in the Middle Tennessee area, and in fact happens all throughout the South, though.
You know, I think that many of these things that you're talking about, certainly your organization and those that are active with you are well aware of these things, but many people who are not actively involved in your organization, we read about desecrations in the newspaper, et cetera, but we really don't understand or see all of the things that you can possibly tell us in reference to that. Talk about that, this whole idea of grave desecrations and what has been done in order to make sure that this does not happen again by your organization.
Well, one, what we've been doing is whenever we find that a site has been discovered in the course of development, we go to that site, we contact the public or private entity that's involved. We try to persuade them either by general persuasion or by protest and demonstrations not to disturb that particular area of the site, because there is still a lot of open land in the Middle Tennessee area, and there's still a lot of other places where these developments can be constructed rather than on a Native American site every time development starts expanding again. And the other thing is some really egregious things have happened in the course of this in reference to Native American skeletal remains and artifacts. 2 to 3 years ago, there was a case of where the skull of a Native American man had been put on sale, and it had lights put in the eye sockets, and the mouth was being used as an ashtray. There was another case of where the skeletal remains of another Native American had been taken apart and constructed into the shape of a guitar, and it was being sold here in Nashville. There was another case of where the skeletal remains of a Native American woman had been taken apart and reconstructed into the shape of a dog. So these type of just monstrous desecrations were what we just became so outraged that we felt we had to take some type of public action.
Good. And now, how has the state reacted to your organization and some of the things that you're trying to become involved in? Has there been any kind of legislation, I guess that's what we're asking, that would prohibit this kind of activity from going on, or is there any kind of national movement? Is this peculiar only to the state of Tennessee?
No, it's not peculiar to the state of Tennessee, but it happens more so in the state of Tennessee, I think, than any place else, because Tennessee is considered the most archaeologically rich state in the entire Southeast. And it's very good that you brought up the issue of legislation, because that's something that is pending right now. In fact, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, there is a bill that has been introduced by one of the legislatures that will require that Native American artifacts be reburied with the skeletal remains. And heretofore, what had happened prior was that in many instances, the artifacts were separated from the remains and sold on both the legal and illegal market. But this bill that has been sponsored is coming up for a vote in a state and local committee before the legislature. I'd say in about the next couple of weeks, and myself and other people will be there to speak, advocating that this bill be passed by the legislature.
Do you think that you'll find much opposition to such a bill, or how is the reading so far in reference to that?
It's kind of hard to say at this point. And the reason I couch it in those terms is because approximately 2 years ago, we had a similar bill before the legislature, and we thought that it would pass without too much of a problem. But do you know, we got up there, and out of something like the vote, we literally got, we were devastated. It was only 19 legislators in favor of the bill and something like 40 to 50 against. So, and that, as I said, was 2 years ago when we were expecting the bill to pass. So this time we can only cross our fingers and hope for the best.
And so you're very active, not only in terms of working in the field, but you also look within the state of Tennessee and within other states, I would imagine as well, to look for some kind of legislation that can help you in terms of what you're trying to accomplish. Is that
is correct.
What we're trying to lay out here?
Yes, that is correct, because in the course of this struggle, we have researched the statutes and laws from all the other states throughout the Southeast, states in the Northeast, states in the West. And
let me interrupt this for a minute here, Mr. Bender, for our first commercial break, and we'll be back with you following this commercial break. Of the Native American